Well, prior to coming out, I mean, the reality is that I had 1,000 different plans. But what it was I was able to sit back and write down a lot of plans, which I will say that plans change. So, coming out was being to basically get myself reacclimated back to society, ID, job, vehicle, things like that. But the first thing was being able to make sure that I could be able to transition. And I think that was one of the hardest things. So I would say that for myself, that sometimes you're in there and you get all these plans, you're writing everything down. But the biggest thing that helped me was having adaptability with my plan. Making room for if plans didn't go a certain way, not to just crash out and resort back to the old way, to be able to give some type of flexibility to be like, you know what, this didn't work out, but I'm going to go here. And that really helped me out a lot. Um, Probably saved me in many incidents that could have resulted to be catastrophic. So yeah. All right. Now, one of the craziest things about getting back out here into society was I never forget the day when I had to get the bus pass and get on the bus again. For a lot of guys like myself, before we went in driving and all stuff like that, to basically drop it down to humility. Getting on the bus, dealing with all the characters that's on the bus, feeling like sometimes that, man, I'm better than this, but at the same time I don't have nothing. So I never forget those moments of humility, getting up 2.5 hours early to take a bus, 2.5 hours to get to a place on time. And, then eventually I was able to get the bike. And the funny part about the bike is that a lot of guys, if I'm not sure if you're familiar about the bike, is that if you're waiting on the bus and you have a bike and the bike rack is already filled, you can't get on that bus. So that means you have to wait another bus or get on the bike and track all the way down to where you're trying to go out, hoping that the next bus that comes is available. Um, then there was, of course, the tri-rail, getting on the train to drive all the way down to Riviera. And then on top of that was the job. And so the interview. So for me, when I went into the interview, I felt confident in my mind, getting up prepared, saying, okay, no, I got this. But I'm not gonna lie to you. There was a lot of things in the beginning that made me self-doubt. Like we always say, man, you walk into a room or when you're from the streets or whatever, you come in with the confidence and it's there. But that's a false sense of confidence. So I had to walk into an arena that I wasn't, in my mind, prepared for. And that arena is basically saying that it's not Sean's way. Whatever company I work for, I would have to align myself with what their values were, what they expected from me, and to even be reprimanded if I made a mistake. And I think that for me, it put me in like vulnerable situations. I think that instead of them saying something to me or answering an interview question wrong, that I'd be like, man, forget this, man. I'm gonna go back and do, man. They got me messed up. But when I went through the interview process, first, of course, I prayed about it, and I'm not gonna lie to you, man. It was one of the best experiences of my life because for a long time, it was a chance for me to be 100% honest with the interviewer, which I'm not gonna lie to you. In those moments, I felt like after the interview, I'm like, man, maybe I gave too much, maybe I put too much out there, and there was a little bit of self doubt. But being open is what got me the job. Being able to bring everything that I've been through, all the hard work that I did in preparing myself to come out into society from prison, all that kicked in without even me even knowing, because all the work was being done in there instead of waiting out here to do the work. So it kind of went to autopilot. All the nights of dreaming about what I would tell an employer, I just went in there and gave myself as an open book to be real and like, look, man, this is me. This is what I'm seeking. These are the expectations that I have of myself. And one of the things that was monumental for me in the interview process was being able to allow my employer to be a part of my transitional process into society. That right there was the best experience, to be able to allow them to walk this transition with me. And I can't say it's easy, but every day is a challenge and a test, but there is no turning back. And so that's, where that's at with that. There go my baby right there. Look at my office. You see her? Yeah, it's my delivery truck right there, man. It's amazing. And there it is. My baby, that's my office right there, gentlemen. Getting into the office, man. Like I said, man, keep your mind focused and stay connected to the higher power, man, Almighty, man. For me, Jesus Christ, I love you guys. Man, stay motivated, man. You already know, man. Take it one day at a time. Have a great day. So the interview that we did, going into it, I was excited. Yeah, man. My story. Um, and I'll never forget how I felt in the beginning, thinking to myself, like, I don't know if I want the world to see me open or vulnerable. I don't know. I got my whole life, I've always tried to pretend that everything was okay. So going into the interview really allowed me to test myself in many different ways. And I'll never forget what you said before we started. You said, look, bro, before when we prayed, and you were like, look, man, just give it everything you got and just be you. And, I always used to say to people that sometimes we try to get other people to fall in love with a you that we don't even know. And in that process, I was able to officially just be me. And it was like all this weight lifted off of my shoulders that is probably one of the most pivotal moments of my life out here because of that interview, being able to just put things out there. To put things out there to basically give another man permission to say, you know what, bro, I feel that. Mental health is real, trauma is real, what we've been through is real. But the biggest thing is, what are we going to do about it? And so that interview for me was like a rebirth of Sean Wright. Um, and then I'll never forget when I watched it for the first time. It was like there were some moments of like, oh man, I don't know if that, like I wanted to edit things. Like I don't want nobody to see me. But then I realized that seeing myself on that platform in that raw way reintroduced me to a Sean I had buried and hid from even myself. And so it was like one of the greatest, I would say, moments for me to just, sometimes we don't even know until you see or you hear your voice or you're recording and you see yourself and you're like, wow, bro, that's me. And I feel like that for me, I have forgot about those moments. I have forgot about what it felt to be human and to be, susceptible to emotion. And knowing that, that my greatest strength is by me being vulnerable and being open and just being truthful with myself and other people. And that's what has drawn so many amazing people around me. Accountability and knowing that and asking for help is really strength. And going against a lot of things that I believed in. And I realized that things that I cared about 2 years ago, they don't even matter now. And it blows my mind that how a belief system can be changed, when you open up and allow God to work in your life and, just rebuild everything you build up and just tear it down in days. So really grateful for that. You know? Okay. So, when we first started the GoFundMe thing, I was like, man, I ain't trying to be no victim. I don't got cancer. I was kind of scared, like, I don't want nobody to know I'm struggling, because a part of me getting out of prison wanted to just do it all myself, bounce back, And I realized that the only way I could bounce back by myself was cutting corners. And so when we started GoFundMe account, bro, it was like a fear of mine to let people know that I was struggling coming out here. And when I started to see the people who poured into me were guys that had went through the prison system with me and people I didn't know, willing to buy into my story to help me. And so that really took my faith to a whole nother level, realizing that when I depended on me, I didn't get far. But when I was able to depend on God and who he would bring into my life to help me, man, it just really made me appreciate and value myself to say that here it are that people who know me, but complete strangers see value in me where I sometimes overlook the value in myself. And so that GoFundMe, man, it was a part of helping me obtain a vehicle. She's a hoopty, but to me, she's a Benz. And I never forget the days riding that bike in the rain and getting on the bus. And still to this day, I still drive by people in the rain and my heart go out to them because I know that struggle. And still to this day, I still drive my bike around just so I can remain humble and keep that balance and never forget where I came from, because this time we're doing things legal. There is no cutting corners. There is no let me do a little bit of this to do that. And that's the hard part. But I can tell you right now that if you stay in it, it's rewarding because I never have to look over my shoulder. I never have to be worried. And we were joking earlier when since I've been legal now, it's like I drive all the main roads. Before I knew every back road there was to take and get around and slide around. And now I look at it like, it's the greatest feeling in the world to know that you may not have it all together. You may be struggling financially. You may not be where you need to be at with your faith, but you're legal. And that is a feeling and a reward that is brand new to me, but it's something that I can't believe I wasted all these years of my life, trading in what I feel now for fear and worriness and what if they stop me now and what if they pull me over here and what I have in the vehicle. And it's an amazing feeling, man. I'm just really grateful that God is continuing to work in my life right now to give me that faith and that confidence to continue to move forward in His will for my life. So, oh wow! So that right there has been. So I'll tell you like this. Um, in my life, I always thought I was some type of superstar and God's gift since sliced bread or something. What I received from that video was more than any accolade I could ever experience being in the street. And I had people. The funny thing about it is, people that I would never expect to watch a video about us that were coming to me like, "Hey man, I can't believe I didn't know you were like this." And it blew my mind so much because if there were days and when there were days where I was feeling like, you know, man, I don't know, and man, this thing right here, man, it ain't working out, and I'm tired of, this little check, and I'm tired of dealing with what I gotta do with the rules, and it ain't fair, and I realized that people were looking up to me and being able to give me strength by my own story, and seeing people from all walks of life be touched with a rough story. People that would, in my mind, never be able to relate to my pain were able to hug me out of like, I mean, let me tell you something. When people don't know you and they come up to you and say, "Hey man, your story," blah, blah, and they hug you and you feeling all weird and you feel like, but it started to break a wall in me that was, I'm not friendly. The reality is that the feedback from those moments were able to breathe life in. And I had no idea of how much an impact I was making in other people's lives by just being truthful with mine. Giving people uh, the good, bad, and ugly instead of just giving them the dressed up way that I've always had my whole life. Carrying the weight on my shoulders, pretending it's okay. Gave me opportunity to go in deeper in details, a little bit more about my story and build relationships with those people beyond um, the camera, but more importantly, to allow those people to start breathing and looking to other people's lives that have been shattered. And so to know that my story helped other people get recognition because now they're interested in knowing about the brokenness, about the incarceration, the trauma, the psychological warfare, the generational curses, knowing that I could be a person that could say, it's not just about me. I'm the door to be able to open up for other people to be able to be heard and voices to be heard. And that right there was, I feel like it gave me purpose. It gave me, instead of a superstar, it gave me, I felt like God's will was being able to surround me and smother me in a way that if I had let go, He could catch me and say, "No, no, no, I got you. Because this is what I called you for. I didn't let you go through everything you went through in life for you to only come out here and pretend it was okay, like you just did it because it was you." And the impact of that and having people breathe and speak into my life and come out of the woodworks to want to know more about what goes on in people's lives like ours, it really touched me in a way and really kind of turned me on fire to say, you know what, Lord, whatever you have for me, I'm going to do. I'm going to go out there to the front lines, and if they make fun of me and they laugh at me, it don't matter because you ain't laughing at me. And it really gave me a small glimpse of what he has in store for me that still my mind still can't comprehend the greatness that's in store. So it was amazing. So upon accomplishing the goals I've achieved, there's this feeling. So coming out of incarceration and prison, we we want everything fast. Like we just assume that everything just gonna happen back to back. Because when you're in the street, it's like that: fast life, fast money, boom, 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 boom. But the reality is that society doesn't work like that. Um, the process. I used to always hear people say, "Man, trust the process," and I used to be livid when I heard that. Man, trust the process. Man, you tripping. But one of the transitional parts for me in my life was being able to trust that it took time to get in between where I need to be at in life. So upon accomplishing goal by goal, it kind of like had me staying focused. Um, what was the next thing? Um, but there was a moment where I had to slow myself down to realize that upon accomplishing these goals and moving faster than a lot of people, not saying because of me, but just because of what God was doing, that I also had to make time for the process in between those accomplishments. And it was funny because, I was moving so fast, I'm trying to regain my life. But I almost became a victim of what I always say, that the world's moving so fast they can't see in front of them. And I had to like slow down and just enjoy the fact that, you know what, I'm free and I have time, even though I felt like 13 years went by and I need to make up for everything I lost, but realizing I didn't lose anything. Everything I went through in prison allowed me to be and accomplish what I went through now and what I'm still going through, because never forgetting what it was really in there. No matter how much in my mind I tricked myself to say, man, I was living. The truth of in prison, I was just existing. And, I would always tell guys in there, like, man, I'm living in here. I ain't dying. But the truth of the matter was there's so many people out that I cared about were dying all around me. And I wasn't there to even be there for that. So just being able to accomplish some goals and seeing so many people so proud of me. But the thing that really kind of kept me more focused was seeing all the people that I thought that I needed validation from be completely despised by the success I had, and that I would choose a different path over what they thought that I always knew. And there were moments in that where I almost self-destructed, thinking that their validation was what I really needed, but realizing that if I continue to allow myself to be put under the vision of other people, then I'll never ever be able to do what God has in store for me. And the hardest thing is being able to know that even people you love, sometimes you can't allow what their expectations for you in your life to get in the way of what God has in store for you. And I want each and everybody out there to know that it is the hardest thing to know that in your success, the people you want around, sometimes they can't share with you. And when you're sitting around the table and you're looking around, you're like, man, you know who's missing or who you want to be there, but they're not missing. What's in front of you right now, the family you're building and creating, that's what it is. And anybody who's not there, I'm not going to say they don't mind, but let me tell you something. I'm not looking back in the rear view trying to find out where the people are in my life. I'm moving forward, and everybody God's bringing in my life, that's what it is right now. All right, and I also want to send a special thanks out to everybody who did donate and help. Um, Words from my heart can't sometimes even explain the words that I want to say to each and every one of you guys. Um, it meant the world to me for the financial support. And I want each and every one of you to know not only am I thankful, but to be able to open up the door where you can be able to see where not only the financial help is going to, but you can take a walk with me through this journey and through this path. And that even though it may seem like my success, it's your success as well. And right now, we still have the GoFundMe up. And if you want to donate, we're definitely open for that because we still have future plans. And the thing about it like this is like this. one of the greatest things that I learned from this whole experience with the GoFundMe thing is like this: the majority of the people who poured into me that way always told me, "Why didn't you say anything? Why didn't you tell us you needed help?" And that right there humbled me to the point where saying that when a man or a woman needs help, you have to reach out to people and ask. And even if they say no, you may hear 1,000 no's, but it takes one yes to make a life change. And I thank each and every one of you guys for that. Thank you. All right, future plans. So right now, I'm currently still at the halfway house, which is the anchor house. And right now we're serving like with Recovery Church and getting into the ministry. But the plans right now is also to be able to give kind of like bridge the gap between like guys coming out of prison, transitional housing. So the future plans for me is working side by side with a lot of people like in therapy, counseling, drug rehabs, and more importantly, just being able to be there as a voice to help the family members of people understand the language of the prison institutions, drug addiction. So it's that right there is what I've been spending a lot of time with, trying to meet with people, leaders in the community, church community, youth centers, and things like that. And I'm still a work in progress as well, but this right here is what keeps me sober. It keeps me accountable, but more importantly, it keeps me in line with God's will. And the future plans at this moment in my life are so up in the air because I'm now asking God's will to be done in my life every day. And so sometimes when I think I have it under control, well, I'm gonna do this. Like I never forget, most of you guys still in prison. You always understood I was the Sean, the drug counselor. When that transitional point for my life. So I thought that's what I was gonna do. I was just gonna just pour into that. And I realized that even though drug counseling is what I love, it's a small part of what God has in store for me. So I just really kind of just want to open myself up to be there for people that might need understanding of what an individual might be going through in prison they can't talk about, and being able to help the family love on them in a way where they don't enable them, but you're able to help them and still give them assistance and understanding the trauma. And I realized that by doing that, I'm basically letting people know that the trauma, to be able to understand it, doesn't excuse your behavior. It just helps the people around you understand why you're going through what you're going through. And maybe at those moments, once we start to understand what each and every individual is going through, we can start the healing process. And that right there is what basically for the future plans for me is to be a part of that process. To be the first one in the crowd to say, I need help. I did this way. I didn't know. I was afraid. I was this. I was that. To give other men and women permission to say, you know what? If he could do it, I could do it. And even if you feel like you're too tough for that and you can't do it, and I don't know, I've always done it on my own, I'm going to tell you like this. When it all falls down and everybody you love is in caskets and you're at your darkest moment, who do you talk to? And if you're telling me right now or anybody else around you that you're talking to yourself, you're the main person I'm talking to today because I was that person. And I want you to know that right now that by being able to pour out to God, not the God you think you know, not the God you think you know through everybody who ever failed you in church and you thought that by them failing you that Christ wasn't real. No, we humans. And a lot of us, all of us fail. But he never failed us. And that right there allows me to know that on my worst day, that he loves me and I'm still a work in progress. And on my greatest day, it gets me to get on my knees and thank him that he brought me from my worst days. How can I describe being suffocated and strangled under blue skies? To see freedom through a chain link fence, so far, but so close. How can I describe to someone who's never been strangled, suffocated, how it feels to breathe, and at the same time let them know that I still feel alive? Each and every day when I was behind those walls, life was happening for me in a whole nother way. And for each and every one of you guys that are inside, ladies and gentlemen, or even outside, I want you to know that God loves you. For 10 years of my life, I did it all on my own. As a friend of mine would always say, I went rogue. Some of those years were the best years of my life and my mindset at that moment. But it wasn't until I really surrendered to God that I was able to have joy and peace. And it's funny to me right now because even in the struggles and not being financial stability and not being stable, living in the halfway house and and not really making the most money at work. The best thing that God has given me and what I want to give to you, if you'll surrender to Him, is that joy and that peace through the struggle. See, each and every day we always say the struggle's real and you don't understand the struggle. But what I realized is that right there was my justification to keep on doing what I did. But what I realized is that the true message was that even in my struggle, He would give me peace and joy. And that right there is what I want to be able to offer you. Whoever you are, wherever you're sitting, wherever you're watching, maybe you have it together, maybe nobody knows. But my message to you is that I pray that you heal from what you don't speak about. I pray that in the midst of whatever you're going through out there or in there, that you would know that you're a child of God. It's funny because we dressed up and I get dressed up sometimes. Like today I wore a suit and I'm still on the ankle monitor, still in the halfway house, still on CRD, still make almost the bare minimum, but I'm free. Free because He saved me. Not free from the gate, because you can be outside and still be in prison. And some of you guys and ladies inside of prison are living more free than the people out here. But I want you to know you're not forgotten. And every moment in my life, every moment where the jumping, the stabbings, the shootouts, whatever it may be, the breakups, the family not loving me or me not loving or whatever wrong was done, it was always Him that had His hand over me. And the hardest reality of that truth, ladies and gentlemen, is this. When you think it's you, it was always Him. And the reason why you're still here is because He's not done with you yet. And I know that right now, especially in a lot of our lives, and even me, you ask yourself, well, man, you out there or you give God all the glory. I have to tell you that because if you don't, where will you be at? And so my thing was I just got tired of running. I got tired of trying to maintain the lifestyle of a dope boy when I was spinning out of control. I wanted everything, the money, the cars, the clothes, the women, the party, the streets. Now where are all my so-called treasures? See, what I realized is that I may not be able to fix and change certain things that happened to me in my past, certain trauma. But what I can do is I can heal from it. And I'm just so thankful right now to be able to be where I'm at today, to hopefully give you the encouragement or to influence you to reach out today in your brokenness and reach out to Him. And like I said before, that when God has sent guys in there to not knock on my door, my heart, but kick that door open, I want you to know if you're that person that's peeking out the peephole at the door of your heart because you're afraid that God might see what's inside that door, I want you to know that when those men came in my life and kicked that door open, everything you can imagine was going on in those rooms, and they still sat down and dined with me and loved me and didn't care about what I was doing, but they met me where I'm at. Today, my message to you is to reach out and let God meet you where you're at, in your brokenness, or even in your pride, or your struggle, whatever you're going through, and reach out to Him. Because I'm going to tell you something right now, that it wasn't until I started feeling His love in my life that I was able to love myself the way He designed me to love, so I could love someone else and give him or her the love that she needs to get. Why? Because He gives me that same love. And that's my message to each and every one of you out there. Not only stay motivated, stay connected, but reach out and really get a relationship with Jesus Christ. Thank you guys. Stay motivated and stay tuned.